up, Cinema Shogun here, and as all of you already know, I have been covering this conflict over in Israel for almost a month now, and over the past few weeks, I have seen so much stuff that I find really frustrating, but also in the fog of war with all of this confusion and all of this stuff happening at once, I think that there are a lot of things about this conflict that are flying right over people's heads because in reality they don't have time to sit down and really think things out. Which is why I wanted to sit down, make this video, and point some of those things out while also airing out some of my frustrations. But honestly, I don't really know where to begin. There's so many things I want to touch on, but let's start here. I'm looking around America, and I see my fellow Americans are divided by this conflict. And I look at all of this division, and I think it's stupid. There's no reason why Americans should be so divided over a foreign conflict that has absolutely nothing to do with us on a personal level. On a personal level. It hurts me to my heart when I see friends falling out with each other, breaking up friendships over a war in the Middle East that neither one of them really knows that much about. I think it's really sad that there is so much division in this country to begin with, but now we have this new issue that many Americans are either uninformed or misinformed about. We have this new issue that is spreading throughout America like a wildfire, dividing people every step of the way. Mind you, this is an issue, this is a conflict that has been going on before any of us were born. Before any of us were born. I'm not saying that you can't look at the situation going on over there and feel bad. I'm not saying that you can't, pick whatever side you want to pick. You're an American, you're free to do so. But with everything that's going on in this country already that's dividing us, we simply cannot allow these foreign wars and foreign problems to come into our country and divide us. The reality is that most of the people in Israel and most of the people in Gaza and most of the people in this part of the world have very different beliefs and values than any of us. But what's really happening is people are allowing their emotions to get the best of them instead of thinking logically. Listen, folks, war is no place for emotions. I understand that it's easy to sit here and see what's going on over there. It's easy to become emotional. Seeing the horrific things that are happening to people, it's easy to become emotional. And it's easy to think and act off of your emotions instead of logically. But I can assure you that war is not about emotions. You don't survive a war based on your emotions. If you're on the battlefield and you see your best friend get blown away, you can't react on those emotions and immediately run to their side and get sniped yourself. You have to think logically. You have to allow logic, common sense to take the wheel. When you allow your emotions to take the wheel, the outcome's never a good thing. And you want to know what's happening? The people in Gaza, the people in Israel, are the people that run these places, Hamas. They're acting off of their emotions. If either side was thinking logically, we would not be in this situation that we're in right now. But they're reacting off of their hate and off of their anger on both sides. They've thrown logic out the window, and that's why things are the way they are now. What a lot of people don't realize, though, is that both sides, Israel and Gaza, or Israel and Hamas, they are both actively trying to play on your emotions. A lot of the people over there, they don't think the way that we do here in America and in Western civilization. A lot of them aren't as sensitive to the things that we are sensitive to. And they are weaponizing your emotions and your sensitivity against you. Why do you think both sides are so desperately trying to spread these videos of unalive children? Why do you think both sides have been desperately trying to spread these stories about how these innocent babies are getting hurt or worse in Israel during the invasion or in Gaza during the bombardment? Because both sides know that will make you react emotionally. Both sides know that will make you throw logic right out the window. But do you want to know what the sad reality is? And a lot of people are not going to like what I'm about to say. The sad reality is, folks, hear me out. Both sides are using babies as an excuse to attack each other. Both sides are posting these videos. Oh, look what happened to these babies. Look what happened to these kids. They're hiding behind these kids. They're hiding behind these bodies. Not literally. Some may argue literally. But figuratively, that's what they're doing. One side carries out an attack and it says, oh, well, look at all of these babies that were hurt before in the past. Then the other side does something evil. Well, look at what they did to our babies. And before you know it, all of these dead kids are starting to be used as propaganda. They're propping them up on videos, using them as excuses to carry out attacks against their enemies. If either side cared as much about these kids as you do, there would be no war between Gaza and Israel. If either one of these sides cared as much about human life as most of us do, there would be no conflict. But that's not the case. They want to carry out an airstrike or carry out a terrorist attack and kidnap people and then dangle a bunch of dead babies in your face. Look, oh, feel bad for us, feel bad for us. And it's sad. It's disgusting. I wish that I could wipe the visuals out of my mind of all of the kids that I have seen over the last few weeks and what has been done to them. But both sides have the power to make it stop. Both sides have decided that it's worth it to keep fighting. Most of the people in Israel and the people in Gaza weren't even alive when this conflict started. Most of these people weren't alive, yet they continue fighting because they know nothing else. And in many ways, it looks like they want nothing else. The love that they have for these dead kids that they show you on all of these videos, it does not outweigh the hatred that they have for each other, which is why they constantly fight. And then they turn to the rest of the world. Hey, look at what happened to our baby. Look what happened to their baby. Shouldn't you pick our side? Shouldn't you pick our side? Shouldn't you feel bad? No, how about both of y'all are selfish? Both of y'all have kept this petty fight going on for decades, years and years and years. Yet you want the world to stop and all of a sudden care. I don't know, I just find it weird that one day we see these people parading the dead bodies of women through the street, beating them over the head, spitting on their bodies, and then the next day we're supposed to feel bad for them. They kidnapped women and children, put their bodies in the back of pickup trucks, drove them through the city so civilians could spit on them and beat them in the head with their sandals and sticks, and then we're supposed to feel bad that they don't have Wi-Fi. And then Israel bombs the hell out of Gaza for weeks on end, and then we're supposed to feel bad for what? For something that happens to this Israeli. I don't understand why this is flying over everyone's head, but both sides are trying to play on your emotions as they have put their own emotions to the side in order to just move forward with hatred, which I guess you can say is an emotion. And people will undoubtedly get angry at what I'm saying because they're reacting off of their emotions. But if you think logically, if the love that either one of these sides had for these kids outweighed the hatred that they had for each other, we would not be in this position. And then when you call out one thing, there's always, well, what about what Israel did? Or what about what the Palestinians did? It's like little toddlers. I don't have kids yet, but it's literally like having two kids. He hit me first. No, you hit me first. Oh, he hit me first. You point out one thing, say, oh, I don't think Hamas should have, kidnapped those women and, killed them. I think that's bad. Well, what about what Israel did for 75 years? Then you say, oh, I don't think Israel should be, dropping bombs on these innocent people. What about Hamas? Israel doesn't have the right to defend themselves. It's the same old nonsense. And everyone is like, they've fallen into these tribes and they don't even know why. It's just because their emotions have drawn them down this path and they don't even realize that they are being manipulated by social media. And chances are the first vid you saw was the vid that took you down this path. Some of you all saw videos of horrible things that Hamas did, and now you're pro-Israel. Some of you all saw horrible things that Israel did, and now you're pro-Hamas. You know what I say? Either these two sides put their differences to the side. I don't give a flying fuck what happened 100 years ago, 75 years ago, 200 years ago. Either these two sides put their differences to the side, or duke it out. Fight, kill each other, do whatever the hell you want, but leave the rest of the world out of it. Your religious squabbles, the hatred that you have for each other, keep it the hell over there. But that's not what's happening, is it? The hatred that these two sides have for each other, that most of us have no understanding of, is now spreading across the world, and you're getting mad at the person who makes your Starbucks drinks because they're Jewish and they're pro-Israel. And now you're mad at your sister because she's pro-Palestine. And your best friend and you aren't talking because you have different opposing opinions on what should be done. F all of that. I'm so sick and tired of it. The division, the constant, we have to divide ourselves in any freaking way possible. Now let's divide ourselves over a foreign war that's been going on for generations that has nothing to do with us. And to be frank, it has very little to do with any of the people who are still alive in Israel and Gaza to this day. But they pass this hatred generation to generation, and they're going to keep fighting, and I'm not going to sit here and be required to care. I only have so much sympathy to go around. And while I feel horrible with every video that I see coming out of Gaza, at the same time, you're not going to sit here and dangle lifeless babies in my face and use that as propaganda to make me feel the same hatred towards the people you hate. And that's all that's happening. That is all that is happening. Israel and the Palestinians are exporting their hate across the world, and now we're fighting each other. We're getting into petty arguments over their nonsense. Look, I'm sorry, folks, but I have sat here for almost a month watching Israel lie, watching Hamas lie, watching both sides blame each other for things that they actually did, watching both sides kill civilians, watching both sides spread fake videos on the internet, and then at the end of the day, they come and they sit in front of you and they say, well, look at these babies and what was done to them. Or what about these babies over here? Or what about these kids over there? What about those kids over there? Neither side gives a damn about these kids. If they did, if they cared about their future generations, they could have nipped this issue in the bud years ago. Years and years ago. But neither side is really willing to do so. I don't care what you hear from one side or the other. One side will say, hey, if we stop fighting, we won't exist anymore. Then the other side, well, we stop fighting, we won't exist anymore. And it's all just excuses, because the reality is they hate each other. And the reality is this region of the world has always been very violent. The reality is some of these people's religious beliefs call for violence. The reality is we have no business fighting each other over whatever the hell is happening over there. And if you find yourself feeling really passionate about being on one side or the other, ask yourself, what are you actually willing to sacrifice for this cause? Because it's one thing to be like, oh God, yeah, from the land to the sea, free Palestine. And it's one thing to be like, yeah, go Israel, yeah. Are you willing to sacrifice your own life for this cause? Are you willing to sacrifice the lives of your kids, your neighbors' kids, your nephews, your nieces? Ask yourself that question, because when you look at this conflict, there is a very real reality that someone you know will be dying over in the Middle East soon because of their petty drama. So when you find yourself really passionately on one side, ask yourself, are you really willing to make that sacrifice? Because if you're not, shut the fuck up and go sit your ass down somewhere. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. If you're feeling generous, you can drop a super thanks, or you can support my channel for totally free by subscribing, hitting that like button, ringing that notification bell. And as always, I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.